Alright guys, so we got a bit of clunking going on here on the front end of this machine. It's Polaris Sportsman 850. I've done some maintenance on our wheel bearings and whatnot. Now after that I did notice the clunking noise is still there, and we got a couple of lower ball joints with quite a bit of lateral play. So we'll go over that. We'll go ahead and go over what we're going to need, and we'll go from there. So basically what we're going to need today in our lineup is a 10 mil, 13, 15, 15 mil wrench, couple of ratchets, and a ball joint. There's your Kimpex part number right there. We have an all balls racing lower ball joint. So as you can see, we're here. You've got a bit of clunking noises going on there. The other ball joint is plenty worse, but again, we're going to go ahead and replace it anyway. So we're going to go ahead and use the 10 mil to pop this bad boy off here. 13 mil is going to be your bottom ball joint. This machine has a lift kit, so it's hard to get at everything else. So I'm going to pop that strut out, coil over, sorry, and we'll go ahead and remove the two 15s on either side of that control arm bushing. So go ahead, that control arm should pop right out. Let's go ahead, have a look. Alright, so first of all, we're going to go ahead, remove this 10 mil. Basically just gives us a little bit of a better angle to get those bolts in that bottom ball joint. Alright, so pop that off there. I said now we're going to go ahead, get those 13s. Loosen that up for now. Alright, so we have a winch on this machine. It's going to make that bolt a little bit harder to get at. It's not too bad though. So just in behind the winch, there's a bolt for your lower control arm bushing. So we're going to go ahead, loosen up that one. Once that bolt on the back starts spinning like you just did, we'll go ahead and get the 15 mil wrench on that. So we're going to pop that one out there. We'll go ahead and do the same for this one here. We're going to go ahead, loosen up this. We'll have everything out. We'll be right back. Alright, so we got the nuts off of those control arm bushings. We're going to go ahead, pop this coil over loose. So go ahead and take that bolt out. I would lift up that shock, put him in place. Take our 13 out down here. Two bolts come out of the bushings. Control arm is going to be free. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pop these bolts out here. Two. And we got that 13 out. We have that loose. So as you know, ball joints always have this little crook like they're in. So we'll go ahead and pop this out. Like that. Pretty free. Bushings are rotten. I'm going to go ahead, take all that out, clean it up, grease it up. And here's your ball joint. So, oh yeah, water pouring out of it, look. compared to a new ball joint. Yeah. All right, well, we'll get over to the vise. Okay, so we have it in the vise here. We have a circlip we got to get off. Go ahead. Again, I don't have the correct tool for this, so I'm going to do this how I can. Typically, I just spread it open as much as I can with this set of needle nose pliers. Screwdriver in the back and behind it. Just enough to lift that up and around. Pop them off like that. That wasn't too bad. Okay. Basically, what I'm going to do now is give that a little pop out with the hammer. Okay, so all I'm going to do here is I have a big socket underneath. The ball joint's going to basically fall into it. I don't want to squat this and ruin everything. So I have a 13/16, which I guess is a 21 mil. I'm going to put on over top of the ball joint. And I'm going to smack the hammer. Should be moving out the bottom. It is moving out the bottom. It's pretty much loose there now. So I'm just going to take that. That's that. Bad ball joint. You can see why they call it a ball joint. Just worn. New. Alright, so let's get to that step. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pop those bushings out. So I'm going to clean them all up. See how dry it is. Get everything greased. Key to making stuff last, of course, is to grease it. If it has a grease nipple, grease it. Alright, so we got those out. What I like to do now is, or what I have done is what I should say, is I've taken a socket on one side that the ball joint fits in and goes around. And I've taken basically an eye bolt that fits around the bottom of the ball joint and I've pressed it in with the vise. So that's what we're going to do. We'll get it all set up and we'll squeeze them in. Okay, so I got this set up in the vise here. I'm just going to go ahead and start pressing them in. Go ahead and check that now. Alright, so we managed to get that in nice and easy. That socket, just press it on in. I was freaking out, figured I was going to need like a 10-ton press. But like I said, it worked out okay. So now all I'm going to do, take the new snap ring that comes with. Put my needle nose pliers in there. I'm going to go ahead and put them on down over here. In there like that. Pop right down over. Seats right on in. Ta-da. Ball joint done. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get these cleaned up. Get the bushings cleaned up. Lubricate everything. Throw it in. Throw it back in. Let me show you the difference. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get these control arms cleaned up. Get as much dirt and grease as we can off of those. Out of those. Because everything builds up over time, of course. So. They are a bit dirty on the inside. Run a rag through. Yum. Well, get as much as you can out of there. If you want to take like a small brush, and if you have one of those small ones you can put on a drill or something like that there, just to make sure you get everything out of the inside. We should be pretty good there. All right. Clean up the bushings. We'll lubricate them before we put them back in. So, realistically, this isn't too bad. It's probably taken me by the time to get the bike jacked up, the wheel off, bolts out, and that bushing in. I'm looking at about half an hour. Sure, that ball joint in about half an hour. It's not too painful. Now, I also noticed that this bike is turning a little bit. One of the control arms has a little bend in it, so I'm going to try and see what I can do with the inner and outer tie rods there, just to see if I can get her any bit straighter. And that will help anyways. So we'll go ahead and get all this cleaned up, pop that back in, we'll go from there. Alright, so we got everything cleaned up. And again, a good idea here, of course, is to get all your bushings lubricated, get a bit of grease on them before we pop them in. That's one. So these aren't worn at all. If they were worn, I'd have replaced them, but they're all pretty good. The top ones are starting to get a little worn. Wouldn't worry about them too bad for now. One. Two. I'll get a little bit of lube on them pins. Alright, so we're basically ready to slide this back in place. So let's bring it over to the bike. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and pop this control arm back in place here. Go ahead and get our bolts. One. That's two. So for now, we'll just put a couple of threads on those. Now we've got two. Get that ball joint all lined up, ready to go in. So as I mentioned before, that ball joint has like a notch taken out of it, which is what catches it in the spindle. Alright, so we got that ball joint put in the spindle there. Go ahead, put that nut and washer on. Go ahead and pop our coil over, back in. We'll go ahead and tighten everything down. So again, we'll start with the 15s. 15 mil up here. One. We'll go ahead, put the other control arm bolt through. Before we go any further, we're going ahead grease those bushings. Come out there. One. Two. That's there. Next, the two 13 mils on the bottom. Much better.